Peace. Barghani. Islam. Salam. Hetepu. Rahubat. Gino Lako Ni Nani. Chief Noble Bandede Elamine. Back again for another video. Today, we're going to be talking about the Constitution and its ties to legislation. Okay. Should be a good constitutional history lesson, if you know what I mean. So, we're going to get into that. Before we get into that, please check out indigenous services webs.com. It's the one-stop shop for your Moorish indigenous needs. It has a plethora of information on law, history, and administrative procedures. The list goes on. One of the main things that I'm proud of is the videos. There are a lot of videos dealing with various subjects, so you can find a lot of information and keep up with what's going on through a lot of these videos. I mean, I got several, pages and pages of videos. Okay, going from talking about indigenous people and talking about Moorish people, talking about the laws that apply, talking about whatever you're thinking about. It should be here. So check it out. Okay. So let us get into what the subject matter is. But before we do that, please like this video and subscribe and check out all the other videos we got. Now, with that being said, let's get into this. We're talking about the Constitution. The Constitution is like this, paper to a lot of the sovereign movement. It is the bee's knees. It is the Ark of the Covenant. It is the greatest paper known to mankind. Okay, the Constitution of the United States. It is a great work of law that had never been seen and has transformed the way the world looks at, democracy, or like even look at how to set up government. So it has been a very powerful tool that's been used based on the ideologies of liberty. So with that being said, let us look at the Constitution and see how it came to be. Okay, so granted, we understand that the Constitution is the supreme law, supersedes the Articles of Confederation, which is important to understand. For those who don't understand, the Articles of Confederation was the original articles that was talked about. It says it was the agreement among the 13 states, the original 13 states of the United States of America, and that served as its first frame of government. It was approved after much debate by the Second Continental Congress in November 15, 1777. Okay, so the Constitution of the United States is its predecessor is the Articles of Confederation. And it says it is the nation's first constitution. So, it talks about the different articles. We talk about there is 7 articles. And, we got Article 1 talking about the executive branch. Article 2 is, and the judicial, consisting of the Supreme Court, is Article 3. So you got Congress, Article 1, executive branch is Article 2, and the Supreme Court, of course, we know is Article 3. So then they go into the other article, Article 3, 4, 5, 6, and all them concepts of federalism. Okay, describing the rights and responsibilities of state government and states in relationship to federal government. Okay, yada, yada, yada. This is what we know. Maybe you didn't know, but I'm giving you the basic framework of the Constitution. So this is like Constitution 101 right now. What I'm getting to is, I want you to look, let's go over to the right. Let's look at, it was created in 1787. Okay, 1787. Ratified in 1788, and then it was made effective on 1789. So the Constitution comes into effect in 1789. Okay. Let's look at commissioned by. I want you to look at this location, but let's look at commissioned by. Commissioned by Congress of Confederation. Okay? So let's look at it. Basically, the Constitution had to be created by somebody, by a group. It wasn't, necessarily just formed by, this group of guys but it was actually commissioned by the previous Congress. Okay? So, all right, let's look at it. So what we talking about? We're talking about the Congress of Confederation. If you didn't know, that's where the Constitution comes out of, the Congress of Confederation, or formerly referred to as the United States in Congress Assembled. It was a governing body from March 1781 to March 1789. So look, it ends the day of the Constitution being officially ratified into existence. Okay. So the Constitution was created directly out of the Congress of Confederation. And what is that? It's a Congress. It has composed of delegates appointed to each, or composed by the legislators of the several states. Sounds familiar. Sounds like Congress, right? Each state delegation has one vote. It was preceded by the Second Continental Congress and was created by the Articles of Confederation and Perpetual Union. Let's look at that real quick. Let's look at that. The Articles of Confederation and Perpetual Union was the agreement among the 13 original states of the United States of America that served as its first frame of government. It was approved after much debate by the Second Continental Congress on November 1777. Okay, so I'm just showing you that the Constitution's history comes from the Constitution comes from the Continental Congress. Okay, comes from the Continental Congress. If you did not know that, I mean, if you study, yeah, you know this. So this is why I'm bringing this to the fold, because we need to understand the Constitution, where it comes from. Now let's look at this. Like we said, it ended in 1789. It ended because of the Constitution. It seems the Constitution was a direct replacement to all this. So basically, the Constitution's in place now. The Constitution, as we looked at, already gave you Article 1, Article 2, Article 3. Those first three articles of the Constitution imposes congressional powers. Okay? Those first three, let's go back real quick. Those first three articles give, it says consisting of Congress. So Congress is Article 1. The executive is Article 2. The judicial, we know, is Article 3. We said that. So we're saying like the legislative branch, okay, came into being when the U.S. Constitution was ratified in 1789. Okay. Like I said, look, March 4th, 1789 coincides with the ending of Congress of Confederation. So with all this being said, when we look at the Bill of Rights, the Bill of Rights is, I would say, it's a foundational amendments. These Bill of Rights are foundational. It says the United States Bill of Rights composes of the first 10 amendments of the United States. Okay, Bill of Rights are the first 10 amendments, y'all. If y'all didn't know that, this is why we're having this class. Proposed following, getting into that. Basically, there was a debate over the ratification of the Constitution and written to address the objections raised by the Anti-Federalists. The Bill of Rights amendments add to the Constitution specific guarantees of personal freedoms and rights. Okay, clear limitations of governmental power and power in judicial and other proceedings, and explicit declarations that all power is not specifically granted to the federal government by the Constitution are reserved in the states and or the people. So these concepts, they said, look, codified in these amendments are built upon earlier documents. So, the Constitution is built, those amendments are built off the Magna Carta, okay, Northwest Ordinance, and of course the Declaration of Rights, okay, which they say the Virginia Declaration of Rights. Now, understand this: it was due largely to the efforts of representative. Okay, so James Madison is a representative in Congress who studied the deficiencies of the Constitution pointed out by Anti-Federalists and then crafted a series of corrected proposals. So Congress approved the 12 Articles of Amendment on September 25th, 1789. Submitted them to the states for ratification. Contrary to Madison's proposal, that the proposed amendments be incorporated into the main body of the Constitution at the relevant articles and sections of the document. He says they were proposed as supplemental add-ons or codicils to it. So, Madison he felt that these were so important that they should have been in the original document, that they should have just been adapted, and they wanted them to change the Constitution. He felt like it needed to be added to that Constitution, not amendment. So understand that. There's a difference. There would have been a difference between adding those to the Constitution and amending them. Okay. I'm just saying. But they were amended, okay, being that they became the Bill of Rights, the 10 amendments. But these 10 amendments are a special breed. He felt that these 10 amendments were fundamentally important to be integrated into the actual Constitution. So when I think sovereign citizens begin to they look at the 10 amendments and they start to dismiss anything after the 10th Amendment, it's really because of the fundamental importance that these 10 amendments had opposed to these other amendments that come aboard. So when we're talking about, particularly, I'm not going into, but particularly 13th, 14th, 15th, and even when we talk about the 16th Amendment, those amendments seem to be in a different place of power than those original 10 amendments. So I think that is why those amendments are, put on a pedestal and almost looked at as holy as they were given by God, and not necessarily done by any congressional powers. So I think it's just important to understand that even the Constitution is a congressional power, and that Congress holds tremendous power and has always held power, and that the United States is primarily based on that congressional power. So we need to take that into consideration, in particular when we're looking at how the Constitution was formed, because it is a great work that was done by government, but it's not as if it was, let's say, ordained, or that it was like holy in the sense of It doesn't. There's mystery behind how it came to be. Another note is that if I can find it, another note. Actually, what happened with that? What happens with the first 10, the first 10 amendments? The change that it went through from when it left James Madison's hands until it got to Congress and the Senate. A lot of it had changed. Okay. Although I do want to read this though. Although Madison's proposed amendments included a provision to extend the protection of some of the Bill of Rights to the states, the amendments that were finally submitted for ratification, listen, applied only to the federal government. The door for their application upon state governments was opened in 1860s, following the ratification of the 14th Amendment. And so since the early 20th century, both federal and state courts have used the 14th Amendment to apply portions of the Bill of Rights to state and local governments. This process is also known as incorporation. Incorporation, the United States law, is the doctrine by which portions of the Bill of Rights have been made applicable to the states. When the Bill of Rights was ratified, the courts held that its protections extended only to the actions of the federal government, and that the Bill of Rights did not place limitations on. Okay, so it goes on, but I want you to understand that. So when we're talking about, even when we're talking about the Bill of Rights only pertain to the federal government. Important knowledge, okay? So we're going to stop there. This is pretty much what I wanted to convey. Like I said, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and watch the rest of these videos so you can get that understanding of where we're coming from. So until then, Tuta Anana.